spoilers? Oh, lots and lots of spoilers.
Hello there, you sexy, sexy listeners.
Me?
Hope you're feeling very sexy today.
Oh my.
We've got one steamy romantic comedy this week in our Isn't It Romantic series.
Oh my.
It's so sexy, it'll make you want to have sex. With people. Sexy people. Very sexifully. Down with Love has all the elements of a 60s sex comedy. Two hot leads in swinging 60s fashions, witty repartee, classy drinks, rampant sexism, casual racism, quirky New York imagery and cliches. Just the sort of movie you'd expect from 1963 or 65 or so. So it really... Wait, hang on. Is this right? This movie is from 2003?
Yes.
Seriously?
Yes.
Wait, what? Huh? Okay. Sexy, right. Sexiness. That's what we've got, right? 2003, huh?
Yeah.
Huh. Oh, well, I'm your host, Max Thrustmaster Levine. And over there is your host, Mike Engorged Male Sexual Organs Loose. Oh, yeah.
You're making me feel funny. As to that opening, I don't know if we can broadcast that.
Oh, of course we can.
Yeah. Okay.
None of it's on the forbidden words, yeah.
Did you watch this movie?
I did. It's a sex comedy with sex, except there isn't any.
I was going to say, I disagree.
Well, actually there is, but it's all off screen, or there's some... Well, we'll get to this.
The show.
So, some trivia. Yeah. The budget for this was $35 million.
Here it comes.
Worldwide gross, worldwide,
Pants.
$39 million. This just broke even, and not
it
really.
made $4 million.
Yeah, which probably paid for one advertising run. Everything the characters wore, everything literally from the shoes to the hats was custom made for them.
Nice.
Everything. The split-screen telephone call scenes are direct homages to the 1950s and 60s screwball comedies, like particularly 1959's Pillow Talk, Doris Day and Rock Hudson.
Screwball?
During the dating montage between... I'm not going to say the character's name just yet, but Ewan McGregor's character and Rene Zellweger's character... there's a scene in the background of a man playing bongo drums. This footage is taken shot for shot from Pillow Talk, 1959, which is where Doris Day and Rock Hudson's characters first meet.
Those aren't beatniks!
To create the movie's vivid, stylized appearance, cinematographer Jeff Cronenweth, I don't even know how to pronounce his damn name.
Cronenberg, The Fly!
Help me. Digitally color-timed the movie to simulate the appearance of 3-strip Technicolor. Yeah. Rene Zellweger's character has a long monologue, which is in fact 3 minutes and 2 seconds in a single unbroken shot. And to give you an idea of the kind of professional Rene Zellweger is, it only took him 6 takes to get that right, that whole thing.
Dang, because I was actually, there's a gag reel that I did not know about that's on YouTube, and I watched that, and let's just say there was plenty of material for it.
Yeah. The cartoon animator and Mad Magazine artist Richard Williams made a fake Mad Magazine cover involving Alfred E. Newman as Rene Zellweger's character holding her book. Mad Magazine commented on its cameo in the movie as a surefire kiss of death for a movie.
And they were
This
right.
is true, by the way. I found this a rather jarring piece of historical trivia. There are several pieces of dialogue early on where they refer to Nazi rocket scientists living in the U.S. That's real, by the way. That's a reference to something called Operation Paperclip, which was just after World War II. It was a government project that brought over the Nazi scientists who developed the V-2 rockets that, destroyed London, to bring them over here to work on the U.S. space program, mostly in Huntsville, Alabama.
I thought Paperclip was the UFO one.
No, that's Blue Book.
Oh, yeah.
The most famous of the scientists, of course, as we all know from the Tom Lehrer song, was Dr. Werner von Braun.
They didn't mean to kill people. It was just their way of making friends.
Yes, even giant turtles get lonely.
That's a deeper.
Yeah, he was the technical director of a Nazi rocket factory that was staffed by slave labor from the nearby Mittelbrau-Dora concentration camp. He was essential to the creation of the Redstone missile. And he was, in a lot of ways, which was the band he helped with the Saturn V rocket, the basis of the Apollo program. But it's still kind of a weird name to just or a weird concept to just drop in a romantic comedy.
But it is funny.
No, it isn't. This is Tony Randall's second to last movie. He was 83 at the time. The last one, of course, was the one we all remember, It's About Time.
It's about space?
No, that was, in fact, I checked. It is not a remake of whatever the hell that show was called. It's About Time. It is not about time travel.
A TV show so vague and out there that I don't think either of us have ever seen an episode of it.
Nope, we've heard the theme song, but we've never seen the show. Of course, Tony was not doing so well. He's in a grand total of 2 scenes, and I think has about 3 lines.
Well, I think he'd just become a father again, so there you
go. Now, Tony Randall also appeared with Rock Hudson and Doris Day in Pillow Talk, Lover Come Back, and Send Me No Flowers. In all 3 of these movies, Randall played Hudson's employer and nebbishy sidekick, the David Hyde Pierce role in this movie.
Mm-hmm. So he's passing the torch.
Yeah. This 55 sets were built on 4 sound stages for this movie. The director, Peyton Reed, had a, ingenious way of getting a hold of period costumes and props. He used some strange kind of internet technology called eBay? EBI?
Oh, Max, eBay. You're so on top of things.
Yeah, the guy was all over eBay. We do have brief appearances by 2 Saturday Night Live actors, Rachel Dratch as Gladys and Chris Parnell as the smarmy TV host. They were also they were friends, and I think they knew someone in the set. That little extra scene in the credits where the McGregor and Zellweger singing a duet was filmed at the insistence of Ewan McGregor and Rene Zellweger. Both of them have been in musicals previously, Moulin Rouge and Chicago, respectively, and they thought it would be a sin not to.
Right.
They were wrong.
It was charming. It was fine. I mean, if you're going to do the rest of it, you might as well do that. Apparently, Max disagrees.
So that's all I've got. Do you have any trivia that I missed?
I do. So we, as listeners may remember, because it's only been a week, we had a little technical issue last week, so we couldn't do an episode. And this is a weird thing. Usually, I don't know about Max, but I tend to watch the movie like the day before we record. Now, I make notes.
Yeah.
But there's still stuff that's fresh in my mind even the next day when we record. Well, this case was a week, and so I forgot a lot of stuff. So I had to go looking things up to try and remember. It's like I have these notes. It's like, what does that note mean? I don't know. And I found a couple of things. So in a weird bout of marketing, this movie was specifically released opposite another movie that came out the same week as a kind of counter-programming. Do you know what that movie was?
I do not.
The Matrix Reloaded.
Oh, wow. Yeah, sure. That's why it didn't do so well, that The Matrix Reloaded stole that exact kind of rom-com audience.
Well, I mean, you could just hear the meeting, right? It's like, well, if you don't want to see The Matrix Reloaded, you'll want to see this. To be fair,
wow.
I mean, well, usually we get to this later, but I did see this. I saw them both. I don't know why I saw this in the theater, but I did. Director Peyton Reed, he would go on to direct 2 episodes, among other things, of The Mandalorian and both Ant-Man movies. Interestingly, when he was in high school, he was in a punk band, and he drew the flyer for their band, and he made up each member to look like a member of the Avengers. Guess which character he chose for himself?
Ooh, Ant-Man.
Yes. So, weird bit of...
I'm a genius!
Other than that, no, I have no other trivia for this film. But Max, would you do us a favor?
Sure.
Would you recount the plot for us?
I will do that for you right now. Set in 1962, this movie is a tribute to the so-called sex comedies of the 1960s.
Sex.
You Catcher Block.
You remember him from Speed Racer, the mammoth car Cruncher Block? Yeah,
that's right. It's
a mammoth car.
Oh, played by Ewan McGregor, is a lady killer, man's man about town, journalist. You have to sort of just take the journalist part on faith because there's not a lot of evidence of it, who specializes in exposés and is probably carrying every STD known to man.
They didn't have STDs in 1962, you know that.
Barbara Novak, played by Rene Zellweger, is a sweet girl from Maine who has written a book called Down with Love, which advances the radical notion that women don't need love from men, just basic sex when they want it. What they really want to do is pursue careers and get, here's a ludicrous idea, equal pay. Oh, those dizzy dames. Due to an inexplicable link to a Judy Garland performance of a song by the same name and not a lawsuit for copyright infringement, the book becomes an overnight sensation, changing the lives of women all over the world, or at least on several sets. Block decides that Novak must be a phony because every woman just wants herself a man's, and creates a fake persona to make Barbara fall in love with him and to prove to everyone that she's a fraud. Hijinks ensue, and ensue, and ensue. There are plot twists on the twists, subplots involving the lead's best friends apparently falling in love, double entendres that are so unsubtle they're basically 0.5 entendres, and a guy named Johnny Trementis. Wowzers! That's pretty much it.
Did you literally just end your plot synopsis with a quote from Inspector Gadget?
I did, and I do it again. I'm always on duty.
Right. Yeah. So now, the rest of the show. The Lowdown.
Okay, I had never seen this. I had only heard of it, and what I had heard was not very encouraging.
Yeah? I wonder if the audience can guess your reaction to this film.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that. I do have to say, one thing they absolutely frigging nailed was the look.
Mm-hmm.
This really, it was kind of unsettling. I mean, right from the 20th Century Fox logo, which was by 2003 already, it was already obsolete, to the color palette, to the weirdly animated opening and the goofy using of the song, the haunting love theme and the music. Mark Shaman, by the way, did the music, and he is disturbingly good at mimicking the 60s styles.
Mm. Well, it even had that old CinemaScope opening, filmed in CinemaScope, which I'm sure it wasn't, but no. I don't think it was.
Yeah, and the costumes, the sets, everything really looked like it was out of a 1960s movie.
You might use the word reeked.
Yeah.
Reeked.
Really reeked of the 60s. Had the 60s oozing all over it.
Can't hold back, can you?
Nope.
Oh, dear. There'll be no surprise.
The other thing I'll say, the cast is remarkable. They've got some really good people in this. Not just Rene Zellweger and Ewan McGregor, the farmer McGregor, whatever his name was. Obi-Wan can be. But they also, David Hyde Pierce, who is hilarious most of the time in other things, and Sarah Paulson, who plays Barbara Novak's best friend, Vicky. Mm-hmm. She's terrific. Tony Randall's always fun.
Yeah.
It's kind of disturbing when you realize that this, at that point, 83-year-old actor who's best known for being on The Odd Couple, he has like 2 lines and blows away everybody else on the screen when he does them.
Yeah, my note was, the evil tyrant Felix Unger.
Yeah, and other odd people appearing. At one point, there's a stewardess in pretty much the most stewardessy of stewardess outfits you could imagine in the 60s, that powder blue, weird Jackie Onassis pillbox hat thingy. That's Jerry Ryan, a.k.a. 7 of 9 from Star Trek Voyager.
I couldn't place her. I'm like,
Yeah.
I know it's not leggy Juliet Prowse, but it's like, who is that? Okay.
No, but I could see where you got that. She is in a lot of ways made up, and her hair is done to look a lot like Juliet Prowse.
Yeah.
Or that style.
She was the wife of actor David Prowse, who originally played Darth Vader. No.
Wait a minute.
Darth Vaderina.
Yeah.
It does have that feeling. I thought, if anything, the colors were a little too bright, but, whatever. I'm not going to sit there and compare and contrast a Doris Day movie, which I have absolutely no interest in watching. Although it just occurred to me, the Doris Day movies, any Doris Day movie with Rock Hudson in it, and this movie have one other thing in common.
And what's that?
They both have actors pretending they're straight.
This is true, by the way. Both David Hyde Pierce, and one of the jokes in this is he is attempting to start a romance with Vicky, who is Barbara's editor and best friend. We know they're best friends because they tell us.
Yeah.
But Vicky assumes that he's gay.
And tell him it's okay.
It's okay. They can still get married. I didn't quite get that, but there's actually a lot in this I don't get. But the irony, of course, is David Hyde Pierce, a couple of years later, would come out as gay. By the way, so did Sarah Paulson, who plays Vicky. Yeah.
Yeah, and when David Hyde Pierce came out as gay, it was almost as surprising as when the guy from Aha, what the hell's his name? George Michael came out and said, I may not be entirely straight.
You mean Wham, yeah. Entirely straight?
Yeah, not Aha. Yeah, I know. And the world went, wait, you didn't know?
Yeah.
I got lucky enough to see David Hyde Pierce on Broadway.
He is a very talented guy. He really is. And he was funny as hell.
He was in Spam-A-Lot, and I think he had either 3 or 4 parts in that
that's
show.
right.
And it was a real kick to see him on Broadway. And, part of me feels badly because obviously he thought that he couldn't come out because it would hurt his career and stuff. But, I mean, dude, we're not surprised.
I mean, on the show Frasier, he was most people's favorite character, Niles.
Yeah. I mean, I think there was even episodes where people were like, "Isn't Frasier gay?"
That was sort of a running subtext that the people thought he was gay.
And of those 3 characters, the father and the 2 sons, the only one who wasn't was Frasier.
Yeah,
eventually.
Grammer.
Yeah. So
that's right. Straight. Couldn't drive, but straight. Sorry.
Hey, gay people can drive.
Yeah, exactly. The straight guy was the one who couldn't.
Yeah, it feels its time. It has characters in it. And here's the weird thing. When I went to see this,
and
I don't know why I saw it, because I also rewatched the trailer, and I'm sitting there going, yep, absolutely nothing about this would make me want to go see this movie. I got no idea. And I asked my partner, he's like, no, I didn't see it. So it's like, I didn't even drag him to go see it. I just went on my own.
Uh-huh.
My memory of it was that it was light and fluffy and charming and inoffensive.
Wow.
In that way, I know. In that way that old Doris Day Rock Hudson films were. Of course, we look back at them now and well, they're whiter than white, and there's bits of racism and there's bits of sexism. No, I'm sorry, not bits of sexism.
Oh, huge! My God, it's the entire premise is sexist. And not just sexist, but pretty misogynist, too.
Well, I have a talking point about that.
Okay.
My question is, and this is sort of, in a way, jumping to the end, but whatever. So, is this movie really as sexist as it seems, or is it a really subversive satire about the state of sexism in today's society?
No. I'm sorry, I was looking at that, too. I was thinking, oh, wow, because... And this is jumping ahead, but the story ends. Oh boy, that's the thing.
Are you going to ruin the twist?
Yes, because this is also giving away the end of the episode. I would not encourage anyone to watch this movie.
Wow,
I'm sorry, but anyway, not because it's offensive, because I don't think it's good. But we'll get to that. But first of all, this whole, as we say, the plot is one of those. Sexist 60s ones that we figure, okay, that's, that's kind of in keeping with the style. It's like, oh, okay, I'm going to prove that this whole idea of female independence and not needing men or not needing love is a fraud. And oh, what do you know? It is. Yeah, that's all women want is they want to get married and they want to fall in love, and that's all. They forget about careers or anything. And then it's like, aha, no, this whole time the woman has been playing the man and has been fooling him, because what she really does want is love and marriage and not a career. But then she decides she wants a career. And then she decides, no, she wants love. And then she wants both, but we don't understand how they can. And it gets really frigging muddled. That is one of my big problems, is the ending doesn't make sense. Literally, it just bounces from one thing to another.
Well, I wanted to bring up that question because part of me wanted to at least consider the idea that that was what they were aiming for. If they were, then I'm guessing somebody bent the site, or they changed his glasses prescription without telling him. Because if that is what they were trying to do, they were trying to go, isn't this cute and funny how it was back then, and aren't we glad we're not like that now? It doesn't come across.
No, I think you have a point. I think they may have been trying to subvert the expectation, but I found they either didn't subvert it or they did it so badly it didn't count as a subversion. It was just playing back into it.
The other thing I could give them as an out is it's perhaps that they meant it to be that satire, but they were just having so much fun being in the 60s that they forgot that part.
That was the thing. I couldn't tell if it was supposed to be a satire or an homage.
Yeah.
Because it was exaggerated. I mean, the bits where Vicky and Barbara walk into restaurants and they're walking in tandem. You know, they're moving like it's almost a dance number. Mm-hmm. That's pretty over the top, or the way they walk in and drop their coats on the floor. And it's like, okay, this is kind of cartoony, but it's also what they used to do in those movies. That's not an exaggeration. And some of it is creepy. I mean, for whatever these 60s movies are, the memories of them, really love them some Ed Sullivan, because the Ed Sullivan Show makes an appearance in this, and we have an Ed Sullivan impersonator who we admittedly only see on a monitor.
And wasn't that weird?
It was incredibly weird.
Well, you're going to use the real clip, because that's definitely Judy Garland. My note was, how did they resurrect Judy Garland? It's like, that's not an impersonator. That's actually Judy Garland. Why didn't they just use Ed Sullivan?
I don't know. But because they had to have him mentioning her, Barbara Novak or something. They used an impersonator, and the impersonator looked wrong.
Like, he didn't even look human. He
looked like a model or a wax dummy or something.
Or a Dick Tracy villain.
And then they cut in a clip because Down With Love is a Judy Garland song. Yeah. It's fairly popular from her, and they do a clip of her singing it. They don't even really do the clip. They sort of show it off to the side. And I'm sorry, I don't like that. This is a personal thing. I understand some people don't mind. It's been done. I can't, off the top of my head, think of a time it was done well, but it's been done where they insert dead people. And I don't mean modified. I don't mean CG. I'm not talking Grand Moff Tarkin or Princess Leia in Rogue One. I'm talking they actually use clips of dead actors or performers and insert them into media as if they're supposed to be there. It's morbid.
Now, so why does that bother you here, but Grand Moff Tarkin doesn't?
Because that was not Peter Cushing. That was a digital recreation of Peter Cushing. And that bothered me, too, because it was like, it was creepy there, too. We're supposed to believe that Judy Garland is there. And that's actually her footage in a movie made decades after her death.
Now, see, I didn't mind it so much here because she has no bearing on the plot. Nobody's interacting with her. They're literally showing her as, oh, she was on TV singing this song.
Yeah, no, I freely admit this is just a personal thing. This is just a matter of taste. I don't like it. I find it really weird. And it takes me out of the movie completely.
Again, because it's supposed to be the time and it's supposed to literally be what she was doing, there's no changing There's no editorial decision on what Judy Garland's doing. I don't have a problem with this. I know a lot of people, when it first really started showing up, was Forrest Gump. And a lot of people had a lot of problems with that, because that was different. Because now we see Tom Hanks as Forrest Gump interacting with JFK. Not an actor playing JFK, but actual JFK. And then people were like, this is all becoming revisionist history, and they were really uptight, probably for good reasons, about that. And that was changing the context of the actual footage. And of course, then we had things like, I think it was Cary Grant was selling, was it Hershey's chocolate or something?
I remember. No, they had Cary Grant and Groucho Marx selling some soda. I think it was Dr. Pepper.
Yeah. And suddenly, all of the Hollywood actors, quite rightfully so, started immediately penciling in clauses saying, no, when I'm dead, you don't get to do that.
Yeah, that's now a standard thing in a lot of people's contracts is you can't use my image after my death.
I think it's totally fine that it bothers you in this case, because that's a personal thing. For me, the way they used it, I don't have a problem with it, because it's literally just, hey, here's a clip of Judy Garland singing on Ed Sullivan. It wasn't like they showed her with Rene Zellweger, or she's holding up a copy of the book.
Yeah, okay.
Or she's wearing a Down with Love t-shirt. Or
that would have been, that would have been a bit much. I did find the Ed Sullivan impersonator creepier.
Yeah, that I just was like, I don't know who you think that is, but why are you doing this? So,
and then of course we get the little tribute to '60s racism when you have the international hit of the whole idea is you see the front of a bookstore, and it's a bookstore in Paris. I was expecting a mime to walk by. Now it's a bookstore in Russia where, like, women in babushkas are smuggling copies of the book inside loaves of black bread. And then, of course, it's China with a huge picture of Chairman Mao and these two women in coolie hats doing the so sorry bow to each other. Wow.
I looked at that and I had a note. It just said, little Asian racism. And I was like, okay, I get why you're doing this. You totally could have left this out and it would have been fine.
Yeah, that actually, that one shot really was it. This was also the last film of the great Florence Stanley.
Who's Florence Stanley?
Mrs. Fish.
Oh, yeah. It's like, she's in there with Mrs. Fish, and it's like, the sad thing is she looks pretty much the same way she did on Fish.
She did. She may have gotten old, but she held on for a long time. And she's the dry cleaner's wife who later becomes the secretary. She's great. Yeah. She really walks away with any scene she's in. And of course, Cruncher Block or whatever his character's name is. Catcher in the Rye. He comes up. He decides he's going to create a fake persona, and he decides he's going to be, because it's 1962, and what's the big thing? Astronauts. Despite the fact, we were 7 years away from going to the moon, but astronauts were a big thing, and he picks out a fake name. Yeah, this is an investigative journalist, by the way. He did not bother to come up with one. He does it Kaiser Soze style. Of grabbing words off of the signs in the dry cleaner. Zip from like zipper repair, and he looks over at Martinizing, and he says, Zip Martin, that's his name.
Zip Martindale.
I was waiting for that. Zip Martin with a pair of glasses and a pretty bad Southern accent.
Hey, I preferred that to what he was trying to do for the rest of the film, because it's like, dude, where are you from?
Yeah.
It's like, are you British? Are you Scottish? Because we know you are. His accent kept slipping out like a bad pair of underwear and a pair and slacks with no zipper.
I didn't understand that, because Ewan McGregor normally is really good at maintaining an American accent, an English accent, or his native Scottish accent. But in this, it was like he wasn't really trying that hard. He would go in and out of American, English, Scottish, all over the place.
Or his dull surprise accent when he plays Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yes.
Again, not his fault. I blame that all on George.
Yeah, no, we cannot. I don't blame any of the actors in the Star Wars prequels, but we already talked about that.
Yes, for 3 hours.
And the names, my God, never mind Catcher Block, but the football quarterback Johnny Trementus.
Now, here's my problem. Catcher Block is a much better name for a gay character.
Yeah. Oh, God.
I'm just saying.
Oh. Wow.
What is that? I mean, I don't even get it. I don't know. Of course, I went right to Cruncher Block, who is a character from a Speed Racer episode.
Yep. Yes, he is.
But whatever.
I kept starting to Catcher Block. Then I started thinking of like Mystery Science Theater. Stump Huge Large, Bronc Drywall.
Yeah. We do it, besides the nice racism, we do get a couple of really nice stereotypical gay jokes early on there.
Oh, yeah.
Needed, because, of course, the costumer has to be gay.
Yeah, he is not just gay, but very swishy.
Yeah. He'll show up later when he goes to work for the women's magazine. But, speaking of that women's magazine, so we get to this is towards the end. We're just going to be all over the place. Eventually, Barbara opens her own counter magazine to the men's magazine, which is, I forget what it's called, but whatever. The women's magazine's called Now.
Oh, yeah, the men's was No, K-N-O-W.
And now she's Now.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you went there, but as soon as we get to the office where it's all women except for the one gay guy, I was like, oh, I remember this from a certain spy film of the 60s. and it made me, my quote for this, it made me go, oh, that's right, this film is as woke as a Derek Flint movie.
Yeah. I was thinking that. It was, I can't remember which one it was,
Flint.
but
In Like Flint.
Yeah, In Like Flint, where, it was a whole female-dominated plan.
The plot of that film, people who have not seen it, this is a film that Austin Powers is heavily based on.
Heavily.
Involves women being reprogrammed through hair dryers in salons.
Yeah. Brainwashed.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. By the way, there was one thing that kind of surprised me. There is a little bit of alleged science thrown in where Rene Zellweger, in her book about how women don't need love, mind you, she's not saying they don't need sex. That was the weird part.
Oh, no, she wasn't saying that.
No, in fact, she says they should have sex a la carte the way men do.
If I might quote, she said women should have Sex all the time.
Thank you, Dr. Ruth Weisenheimer.
Yeah, it's good.
Yes, Frank Miller quote, ladies and gentlemen. But she says because all you have, if women want love, or the idea is that she offers up the idea of chocolate as a replacement for sex.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Now, this is the odd part. She's not wrong. Biochemically, I've read about this. The same levels of dopamine and a bunch of other hormones are released by the brain when you think about the person you're in love with, as happens when you eat a lot of chocolate.
Think about.
Yeah. Think about.
Not actually are performing with.
No, that's the thing. It doesn't replace sex. It doesn't duplicate sex. It duplicates the feeling of love.
So you should have sex and eat chocolate at the same time.
Exactly. No, you should have sex with a piece of chocolate. It's science. Don't dispute me.
I can't broadcast that. You're cut off. Bumpy, get ready.
Bring it on, you mini Clydesdale.
Yeah, that's what we're advocating here at Max Mike Movies.
Sex with chocolate, people.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I do have to say this. There is one of my problems with this movie. Believe it or not, I have problems with this movie.
You do?
Yeah, I don't find a lot of it funny. Just there's not a lot of There is one sight gag, and it's on screen for about a half a second. It's David Hyde Pierce, and that actually made me smile, not laugh, but smile. Because what is everyone drinking in this movie? Because what did everyone drink in the 60s? Martinis.
Yeah.
And he's making a picture of them, and just as the throwaway, he picks up a bottle of vermouth and waves it over the pitcher. He doesn't pour any, he just waves the closed bottle and puts it down.
Yeah.
That, the old joke of the dry martini. It's like, I want it to just be mixed by someone who was thinking of a picture of a bottle of vermouth.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah, they also mentioned another beverage that a lot of us have forgotten about, thank God. Did you catch it?
No, what?
Sanka.
Oh, that's right!
So if you like coffee but don't actually want to drink coffee...
Oh, why so edgy?
Sanka
Robert
was...
Young!
Yes. Wow, deep. Sanka was a coffee substitute, because I don't
Yes.
even think it was pretending to be coffee.
Was it decaf?
Yeah, at the
Okay.
very least. It was brown.
And crunchy when it was in the jar.
Yeah, but it was, you didn't go, and the thing is, you could go to a restaurant, and you wouldn't ask for a decaf, because they
No.
had that. That was not an unknown thing.
No.
But you could go to a restaurant, and they'd say, would you like some coffee? No, I'll have a Sanka. And they actually wanted this.
Particular
It's like-
substance.
Yeah, it's like going to a place for breakfast and saying, can I have a Tang? Which, again, for those of you who don't know what Tang is, you're fine.
The drink the astronauts took to the moon.
Yep, and I used to love Tang, but that's probably because it was literally sugar colored orange.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
But Sanka was this thing, and you could tell because the coffee pots, I remember this, the diner coffee pots were basically glass, but they had a plastic spout and handle. It was black for coffee, but it
Yep.
was orange for Sanka.
Oh, okay. Yeah, nowadays it's orange just for decaf.
Right, because Sanka went away, as
Right.
well it should. Yeah, Sanka, okay.
Ugh.
I mean, they really did their research.
They did.
It is really, really, really 60s, although it is a lot happier than Mad Men.
Yeah. Much
There's a lot
less
more
dark.
singing and dancing than there is in Mad Men. Although, to be fair, I only saw the first episode.
And they do have a lot of very 60s film tropes. They have the whole, the nerdy best friend. That's not just a 60s trope yet. And the swinger saying, here, why don't we switch apartments so I can look more like, a nerd and you can look like a swinger. And the swinger's apartment, of course, is full of gadgets because apparently that was sexy. Like you press a button and the phonograph begins playing a vinyl discoid that produces music. What gets me, did you notice? Well, you must have noticed because they throw it in your face, but David Hyde Pierce has Vicky over. I'm sorry, Peter has Vicky over. It's hard to think of them as the characters because they're the actors are pretty much doing themselves for a lot of it. He has Vicky over, and he's figuring out the remote controls that open up the hidden enormous bar and the couch turning into a bed and turning on the phonograph. And what is the sexy makeout music? The 1812 Overture. This is hot.
Well, the only problem with using that is it's really hard to get your timing down just right.
Yeah, it's better to use the Anvil chorus.
Well, at least it's more regular.
And apparently also, if you hit the wrong button, these old-style stack phonographs will fire the records at you like buzzsaw blades.
Yeah, because we didn't see that in the Flintstones.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, I mean, is that apartment sexy? It was a huge thing. You saw this in numbers of films. You saw them in James Bond films. You saw them in the Derek Flint films.
And again, Austin Powers makes fun of that with the bed sliding out of it. Do I make you horny, baby?
No. And I had to check, too, because I was like, which one came first, this or Austin Powers? Austin Powers is 97. So it does, because they're both approaching the 60s in the same way. It's just Austin Powers blows it up a little bit more than this film.
Austin Powers went much more for parody than homage.
Well, and also Austin Powers is meant to be more like 67, 68, and this is meant to be more like 61, 62. So we're talking like the Suits versus the hippies, right? Because all the psychedelic stuff will be Austin Powers much more than this Mad Men sort of thing. Again, although this bears absolutely no resemblance, except like the one tie that Cruncher Block is wearing is from the Mad Men, but otherwise, I'm sorry, Catcher Block, whatever. Catcher, what the hell is that?
I don't know.
Again,
I assume it's supposed to be like Woman Catcher.
I guess. Yeah. And who is this sexy to? White guys. That's who it's sexy to, which is who all these movies... Well, except that the Doris Day films, I don't think those were aimed at guys.
Those were, I thought, much more for women. But it was supposed to be... They were aimed at women. I don't know if women were the ones who enjoyed it.
It's what guys thought women liked. That's what it was. That's the problem.
Exactly.
So they want beds that come out of everywhere. Women love that. I don't know what that voice was.
And so many odd bits of 60s. 1962, the counterculture was in its infancy, but at one point, one of the sight gags is a whole bunch of guys climbing out of a cab with "Ban the Bomb" signs. That's a little early, but okay.
Oh, those wacky protesters.
And then there is the scene with the beatnik party.
No, they're not beatniks.
But they're wearing black turtlenecks, and some of them have berets and soul patches. And
no,
wow. It's very much what and again, this fits the '60s movies because the people who made those movies had probably never seen a beatnik in their life.
No, they saw the movie The Beatniks.
Yeah, they aren't even boatniks.
The boatniks.
So strange.
Yeah. They do a lot of things very right. And I think, again, there was a lot of love in this. It might be misplaced, but they really did their research. And, they actually used eBay. Woo. Well, to be fair, in 2003, eBay was not nearly the thing it is now.
It was pretty big even then. It wasn't the
it was big. I had an
empire,
account back in 2000, but it was you couldn't find everything the way you have now. Like, I swear, if you go onto eBay now, you'll find stuff you yourself threw out last week.
Yeah, pretty much.
You mentioned
on eBay.
Oh, Al, you are so weird. You mentioned earlier in your plot synopsis about the innuendo. My note on that was the stark innuendo actually hurts.
Yeah, that is one thing that really got me.
They really thrust it right into your face, if you know.
The 60, that is one of the things, I was going to bring this up toward the end, but that is one of the reasons I think this movie doesn't work. There was an innocence about those 60s sex comedies. There really was. You really got the feeling that no one was actually taking their clothes off during the sex scenes.
Well, certainly not Doris Day.
No. Because there's no nudity in those movies, and except for... I guess a sort of a bathtub scene with Rene Zellweger, which again you just see covered up, and Ewan McGregor pulling his shirt off at any opportunity.
And exploding buttons into people's faces.
Yes, his button landing in people's drinks. That was funny.
Yeah.
Which I guess is supposed to be hot, except, my God, the man's arms look like pool noodles. There's an innocence, even the double entendres and the misunderstandings. There is... this was, again, more like Austin Powers, where they're, using sausages and melons. There is a sequence supposed to be where they're doing the split-screen conversation where the two of them are wearing towels, and they're simulating oral sex. I don't mean they're hinting at it. I mean it's softcore porn.
It wasn't that soft.
No. There's no subtlety. There is no... that's why it wasn't funny. It was just blatant.
Yeah.
And that probably really was jarring because it didn't fit.
I think I actually sat back and went, okay, wow.
Yeah.
Just, okay. You don't know what to do with it. You just don't.
No.
And, again, the message... the message. The moral.
What more? It's so confusing. Because the first big twist, I'm going to try... You got to help me.
Okay.
I'm going to try to explain what the first big twist is, because I'm not sure I understood it.
Spoiler.
Now,
Spoiler.
The whole
Spoiler.
thing... Yeah,
Spoiler.
Big spoiler. The whole thing through this movie is Cruncher Block is trying to get Barbara to fall in love with him to prove that she's a fraud, and this whole idea of women don't need love is a lie.
And go with him on the mammoth car.
Yes, and go and run away to Vegas on a mammoth car. And the whole thing is, oh, no, he's falling in love with her. We're told. We don't really see it. But at the end, when she finds out through, a series of, stupid wacky hijinks, finds out that he's trying to get her to confess that she's not the down with love girl, and she's not upset because... Dun, dun, dun. Not only is she discovers he's not Zip Martin.
Dale.
She's not Barbara Novick. Gasp. No, it turns out she's Nancy Brown, his formerly brunette secretary who fell in love with him a year or two ago and decided to concoct this deranged plan where she would become a best-selling author, get him to become obsessed with her. Thus, he would be paying attention only to her, and he would fall in love and want to marry her. Because otherwise, he would just be too distracted by his army of other women. So she concocted this whole scheme to get him to try to expose her by basically making the two of them fall in love and then want to marry her. Did I get that right?
In one of the most amazingly delivered 3.5-minute speeches I've ever seen.
I gotta say, again, props to Rene Zellweger, because she sells the hell out of that speech, and she doesn't blow a line, and she's talking nonstop for 3 minutes.
And she doesn't rip off a mask and have people go, Mr. Simpkins!
Yeah, which was pretty much the thing you were expecting. It's like, oh, doesn't she own the haunted amusement park?
Yeah. That's essentially correct. There is no Barbara Novak. She was a secretary. She made the whole, figuring the only way she could manipulate him, knowing him as well as she did, the only way she could manipulate him is by presenting him with such a, I don't know, obstacle, such a hard to ignore challenge that he would have to try and trick her.
Yeah, because that's not creepy or stalkerish.
And then that would cause him to actually fall in love with her, which is what she wanted. She didn't necessarily want to fall in love with him because she already had. She wanted to make him fall in love with her.
Yeah.
And then when the moment comes and he actually has fallen in love with her and is like, we should get married, she's like, well, I can't do that to the women of the world. Then I would be a phony.
Yeah, she doesn't think that at first. But then 7 of 9 shows up again. I'm sorry. Jerry Ryan shows up again and says, you changed my life. I don't want to be a stewardess. I'm going to be a pilot. You showed me I didn't need to just go around running after men. You've inspired all the women in the world. And she goes, oh, crap, I can't give up being Barbara Novak because I'm now an inspiration. Like, aha, look at this. We're subverting expectations.
I want to be a dentist.
Yeah, she doesn't like to make toys, apparently.
Herbie wants to be a dentist! Sorry, it's just an excuse for me to do that.
I know.
So she goes off and forms the magazine.
Yeah,
and
she starts her women's magazine and just hires mostly women.
And, in a way, proves Barbara Novak's point. Because she walks away from the thing she said she wanted as, I can't remember the secretary's real name, whatever.
Nancy
which
Brown.
was love.
Yeah.
And says, you know what's better is that book where I have this great career and I could have guys come up in anytime I want. And of course, the big one of the
Except that's not how it ends.
No.
It ends with, he's like, oh, I'm in love with her and I'm a changed man and I'm going to write her a love letter, which we don't really hear. And
he writes her a resume, is what he
writes. That's right. He writes a resume and he goes and tries to get her to marry him. And
yeah,
even though, she has become this incredible publishing powerhouse and is a multimillionaire and is an inspiration, and they're going to fly off to Vegas and get married.
Sure. I have a few questions I would like to get to before we get to the wrap up.
I do want to before we do those, I do also want to mention the relationship between Peter and Vicky. David Hyde Pierce and Sarah Paulson.
What relationship is that?
I don't know. I don't really understand what the relationship is supposed to be. I mean, it starts out she thinks he's gay, but she also still wants to marry him. Then she finds out he's not gay. Then he's complaining that she keeps just using him for sex. Then they have the weirdest proposal where they're both talking on the phone basically reading the same lines. It's like they both got the same page in the script. And it just ties up their... Again, this is very 60s. It's a secondary relationship, and it gets tied up in 40 seconds.
Would you have wanted it to take longer?
Honestly, I thought their characters were more interesting. These two people, Cruncher Block and Barbara Stanwyck or whatever, are insane. These are creepy, stalker, obsessed weirdos. Both of them. They're terrible people. They both spend the entire movie playing mind games with each other to control the other person, to alter their emotions.
But it's fun.
Weird.
So yeah, a couple of questions
sure.
I have that I would like to throw in here. And these are ones. Most of these are ones that we do like to propose to each of the films we watch.
Yeah. Yep.
So do we buy how they meet?
in this 60s sort of, it's very contrived. It's not nearly as organic as we've seen in other romantic comedies, because he's very much stalking her.
Well,
he's hunting her.
No, initially he's ignoring her.
Yes,
and
but
then if you'll pardon the expression, they're more or less thrust together.
What do you mean? He follows her into a dry cleaner. He sees her going in there. He grabs his friend's dry cleaning ticket.
No, because remember, initially David Hyde Pierce's character keeps trying to get him to write about her, and he's like, nah, I'm not. I got better things. Oh, I can't make our lunch engagement, and I'm not really British. Sorry. And then it's like, she did what? Well, and then he plots.
Yeah.
So
it works for that type of movie. It's very contrived, but sure.
Sure.
Do you agree?
Same thing. You know, in that weird, we're pretending it's the 60s, let's all pretend that it's the 60s together kind of way, sure. Because if they had tried to do anything more realistic, I honestly don't think it would have worked.
Let me ask you one of our other questions that we always that we talk about this. Do you think the leads have chemistry?
With each other?
Yeah. Yeah, with each other.
Kind of. I think there is some, but I think it's not a fault of the actors in this case. I think that the actors are doing as good a job as they can with what they're given, but the two characters themselves don't make any sense together.
Yeah, I agree. Rene Zellweger and Ewan McGregor are charming, charismatic people, and they're really.
I even like it when they sing.
Yeah,
honestly,
they have great voices. Yep. They can dance. One of the funny moments I thought is when they're trying to do the twist, and they're both very clearly trying to do it badly. And it takes a pretty good dancer to be convincingly bad. But yeah, they're very talented people, and they do their best. But you're right, the characters don't have chemistry. They don't make any sense together.
Yeah. I mean, they're delightful. I like watching them. I think the whole ending song number, I'm fine with it, partially because they're obviously having a lot of fun. And it's basically, I honestly think they were trying to do the director a favor, too. It's like, the way you ended the movie doesn't really work. Let's try something else.
Yeah.
I have a question that's not usually, I have two, they're sort of tied together.
Yeah.
My first question I don't need an answer to is, why did they dye Ewan McGregor's hair? I don't understand. It was terrible.
No, it was such a bad dye job.
The other question, and this is specifically for you, why haven't they dyed Renee's hair before? Did you like her as a redhead? Because I thought, wow.
Yeah, actually, she was pretty stunning as a redhead.
And this is not to say that Renee Zellweger is not.
Her natural hair color is very pretty, but wow! I was like, why weren't you like this the whole movie?
Yeah. And I think we probably answered this one, but do we believe the way they come together at the end of the film?
Oh, good Lord, no.
No. I think there's just way too much rewriting of Cruncher Block's character to make him fit what he needs to do. It just doesn't. It doesn't ring true. I don't suddenly believe he's seen the light.
No.
Now, that being said, the idea, although not the actual portrayal, of Barbara's character is very attractive. I mean, yes, physically she's attractive, although initially the clothes she's wearing to me were like, wow, those are really stylish and frumpy at the same time. She kind of looked like a turtle, a big pink plaid turtle. And then they get to this dinner scene and she's wearing this gown and it's like, okay, that's better. Like I give a crap. But I just felt that, here's this smart, really actually clever career woman who's also physically attractive. And it's like that character, if you left it that way and didn't portray it the way that was portrayed, yes, I can totally see why people would be trying to get with this person. But not the Barbara Novak or whatever her real name is that we actually see.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't buy them coming together because it's just it's almost like he's bowing at her feet and you can see him with an apron at home doing yes dear, no dear. It's almost that much of a turnaround. I also had to wonder if this wasn't some, if it's not being a satire, if it was just some old white man's last grasp of the days of Doris Day and Rock Hudson. But
I wonder.
He wasn't that old at the time, so I guess not. Because, that part didn't work. Yeah. Any other notes or questions you want to get besides the big one?
Well, one thing I did notice is when they're going on their date montage, and they're going through, that they're going to go see Camelot, and then you see this montage of them going through Broadway and all these great shows being, the marquees going by. Again, a classic movie trope. I'm sitting there going, this is such a mistake, because all I'm sitting here doing is going, wow, I would love to be watching one of those shows instead of this movie. And there was at least one bit that does not age well, and thank God it's a quickie, but they're going through the East Village, and you see, oh, wow, they're going to go see Lenny Bruce, and oh, look, they're going to see Bill Cosby.
Okay.
Oh. Yeah. Okay, that doesn't age well.
And he's headlining for Louis C.K.
Oh, well, that doesn't work, but... Yeah. So, but reason. Again, it was really well done. It was right out of those '60s movies. The shots and the angles and the weird superimpositions.
Yeah. But I guess we should get to that point that everyone's been waiting for.
Yeah.
And pause. The roundup. So Max.
Yeah. Sorry, caught a nap there. What?
Did you enjoy this as much as you enjoyed Showgirls?
Yeah. Hey, I remember I was not the one who had to watch Showgirls. You were.
I thought you had actually seen it.
I have never seen that thing.
Oh, good. And I hope nobody ever does. I'm sorry I even said it again. It's almost like having to bring up Rogue Warfare 3 every once in a while.
Stop doing that.
Zangief's ass.
That's all right.
So what did you think, Max?
I thought this was really bad. I'm sorry. I thought the look was good. I thought it was, you could see the sort of loving tribute to the visual and audio styles of the 60s movies. It just, for 2003, for 2021, it just doesn't work. It was too much of an homage and not enough of a parody, because the basic premise of those movies is really offensive. And it's very it's very dated, and the attempt to subvert it just made it confusing. It didn't work for me at all. What about you?
I mean, it's no Springtime for Hitler.
Hey, that at least is funny.
In small amounts.
But
see, when I saw this, I remember thinking it was exactly what it was trying to do. It was light, it was fun, it was reminiscing about the early 60s. I won't call them sex comedies, because I don't think anybody in them ever had any, especially if one of them was Rock Hudson. But I remember it being light, fluffy, and fun, which is why I actually suggested it. Max didn't suggest this film, I did, because I don't think Max would have thought about it one way or the other. And I watched this, and I'm like, oh my gods, what are they doing? This is so misogynistic, and it's got this strong woman character who's basically ending up saying that, gosh, it sure is great to be sexualized, and I hope I get to be a mom, and maybe I'll be a nurse or a school teacher. I mean, it's just, she doesn't do that. But
no.
It doesn't come off as satire or parody at all. It comes across as some white guy's fantasy in a way. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if I missed Ewan looking right at the camera and winking at the end of the film at some point. Go, yep, I'm going to go and we're going to get married. Wink. And, he just ends up going back to doing what he used to do.
I added my notes after Barbara, or whoever's monologue about her secret plan. The look on Ewan McGregor's face, I was thinking, that is the look that everyone in the audience had on their face. Because it's just like, what?
Yeah, I found an interesting quote, a review of the movie when it came out from the San Francisco Chronicle, and I thought that the quote was really interesting. And the quote is, the brilliance, their word. The brilliance of Down with Love is that is slyly reminding us that our modern perspective, like every modern perspective that preceded it, is doomed to obsolescence and isn't some final stage of enlightened social thought. Now, I don't think that you can use the word brilliance.
No.
But it is true. Unfortunately, it doesn't emphasize that, basically telling us, wasn't this horrible? It's fun to make fun of it, but phew, glad that's over. It felt a lot more like we can still do this.
Yeah. Well, if you want to get really subtle, you think maybe it's pointing out that these attitudes still exist and they haven't disappeared.
Well, that's, why I asked that question, but I
think that's giving the movie too much credit.
Yeah. I would say it's sexist. It's got its moments of racism. Ha ha. But I think the people making it are enjoying themselves. They seem to be. And in all the outtakes I saw, they all seem to be having a great time. I just don't think they literally saw the bigger picture. And I don't think it works, especially not in 2003. It's a film you might be able to forgive from 1962.
Yeah.
I don't think you'd remember it.
Well, it couldn't also be the sex talk could not be nearly that explicit in 1962.
I mean, Austin Powers was more explicit, but not by much.
Not by a lot, no.
No.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. So first, a little quick business.
Yes.
If you've enjoyed this show, if you want to check out our old ones, you can go to our website, maxmikemovies.com. Got a complete archive of the old shows. Also announcements and other such things, and a lot of non-existent swag. So you can also find us on the podcast app of your choice, like the Apple Podcast app or the Google Podcast app. We're on iHeartRadio. You can find us on Spotify, and we're on the medias of socialness on Twitter and Facebook under Max Mike Movies. And if you wish to send any questions, quibbles, comments, fashion tips based on the 60s, you can email us at maxmikemovies.com. Also, like to point out that normally we stay pretty apolitical on this show, but I would like to point out that this is our very first, in the 120-odd episodes, our first 100% Trump-free episode.
Yay!
Welcome to
welcome
to the Biden era of maxmikemovies.com.
And also, the email address, if you have suggestions, because we do take them seriously. This whole series was a suggestion from one of our listeners.
Yes, it was.
Putting the business at the end of the episode was a suggestion from one of our listeners.
Yep.
You never know. And who knows, we might even decide to do one of those guest appearances again, if you'd like to be a guest in our show at some point. Heck, go ahead and tell us ahead of time, even if we don't have a contest. Write us, let us know. We love comments.
Yep, at us at maxmikemovies.com or at Spiegel, Chicago 60609. No, not really. But so next week is our final Isn't It Romantic entry, and Mike, what is that going to be?
Well, don't worry, Max. I will always love you.
Wait, didn't we already do Titanic?
I think that's actually the body.
Oh, no, that's right. Oh, Lord, no.
And
I think you hurt me.
That was the point. I'm sure everybody just turned off.
Besides, I would only want to listen to the Dolly Parton version.
Yeah, there you go. Next week, we got to rope and ride and brand and bring this doggy down to the whatever. We have to bring this into a conclusion. And I can't think of a better way to conclude this. I can't think of a better way to conclude this round of rom-coms and silliness and a lack of sex in the most cases, because that has been a theme in most of these films, than by the, it's 90s, isn't it?
I think so.
The late 1990s film, which apparently, I've never seen this film, which
Neither
apparently nearly brought the rom-com to its knees, and not in a good way. You've Got Mail.
Oh, Meg Ryan. Poor Meg Ryan.
Is it? It's not Tom Hanks, or is it?
It is. It is Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan. That much I do know.
And it's a film all about the advent and importance of email.
Yes, and why America Online was a great national nightmare.
Hey, they provided backup discs for the nation. So if you'd like a backup disc, why don't you back up to our disc next week, won't you?
We'll try not to be floppy. This has been a co-production of The Voice of Max and The Movie Wrench.